Dom, how are you this morning, mate?
Yeah, doing well, Dan. And yourself?
Yeah, good. Looking forward to, of course, getting into yet another podcast. Let's not waste any more time. Guys, as always, please do hit the like button and hit the subscribe button for more content. But the big news this morning, of course, is coming out from Rachel Reeves, as she's now publicly admitted that new tax hikes will be coming as a part of the autumn budget. It's the first time that the Chancellor publicly has confirmed tax rises are on the cards in the budget, which she is set to deliver on November 26th. Also, weirdly and ironically, she's currently out in Washington, D.C. for the International Monetary Fund, where she's talking up Britain as being essentially a beacon of prosperity in Europe, despite, of course, the country in an absolute mess at this moment in time. As we know, unemployment has hit a 4-year high. Inflation is the highest in the G7. Growth downgraded weeks before Tories. Well, she still blames the Tories, of course, but she's now also blaming, guess what? Brexit. Yes. Let's have a watch of this video footage from this morning. Have a watch of this.
Are your taxes about to go up? This is what the Chancellor told me.
Of course, we're looking at tax and spending as well.
In an exclusive interview, Rachel Reeves has gone further than ever before, admitting that tax rises and spending cuts are on the cards in the budget. There are tax rises coming down the track.
Yeah, but I think that this
Yes.
government are making, in terms of the ambition of this government, it is big.
But
we've got
you
to
agreed, yes,
always-
there are tax rises coming down
Well,
the track.
I was really clear during the general election campaign, and we discussed this many times, that I would always make sure that the numbers add up.
So what does this mean for you? Well, the government's been clear that it's not going to break its manifesto commitments and increase taxes on working people, but it also said after the last budget that it wasn't going to come back for more. Can you promise the British people you're not going to get stuck in a doom loop of having to go through this cycle every year of having to find more tax to fill
I
the
think
black hole?
nobody wants that cycle to end more than I do, Sam. That's why
Will it end this year?
That is why we're putting all the effort into growing our economy, because that, in the end, is what brings in the tax revenues to be able to afford to keep taxes low.
How are they going to sell it to voters who already dislike them, blaming it on Brexit?
Austerity, Brexit, and the ongoing impact of Liz Truss's mini budget, all of those things have weighed heavily on the UK economy. But there is no doubting that the impact of Brexit is severe and long-lasting.
But it was Brexit voters that put Rachel Reeves in the building. Behind me, 10 years on from the referendum, will these arguments really wash?
So yeah, Labour have lied again. What do you make of that news with regard to Rachel Reeves?
Gosh, she's really clutching at straws talking about Liz Truss's mini budget there. I'm pretty sure that was about 3 years ago. And Brexit being nearly 10 years ago now. I'm shocked, but I'm not surprised. She talks about ending the cycle of increasing taxes to fill the deficit. Well, she is part of that cycle because she's increasing taxes. What the UK needs is a Doge-style cut of government expenditure. Right now, we overspend in this country by nearly 100 million a year. And the deficit just adds to inflation. If they're not going to go at the problem with an axe and really cut down the expenditure of this government, then they will just continue the cycle of increasing taxes.
Yeah, I always like how she never takes any accountability. I feel like she does need to take accountability in her role in this. As I said, we've seen her come in and literally invent a £22 billion black hole, doubled it through her own actions over the last year. And she can never really take any accountability, but we don't see any accountability come from the Labour government whatsoever. Ever, really. And again, more tax rises coming from the UK. But you can save so much tax, as you said, by a Doge-style system. You spoke the other day about the money that was going to the Lebanese police force that we were funding, which was ludicrous amounts. You've, of course, got the welfare bill, which could also be slashed. Stopping the boats, stopping these illegals from being housed in asylum hotels would make to stop some spending. And, of course, what we spoke about a lot here on the channel is, of course, drilling into the North Sea oil reserves and bringing down the energy prices for everyone within the UK.
Yeah, there's so many just clear paths to freedom here. I just want to correct something that I said. It's not 100 million, it's 131 billion a year is the deficit. So that's how much money the Bank of England is printing in order to fill the deficit. And, since 2020, since really the start of this Labour government, everything's gotten progressively worse. The per capita earnings has pretty much stagnated, if not fallen. The only real number they focus on is GDP. Of course, GDP is going to rise when you import millions of people. But really, the only matter of sort of statistic that matters in this case is per capita, is GDP per capita. How much are individuals earning in this country? And you're absolutely right, cutting, refugee and illegal HMOs, hotels, and all the infrastructure associated with that would lead to massive fiscal savings. Think about the HS2. One of the towns close to me is Crewe, which was meant to be one of the primary stations for HS2. You could get a train from, allegedly, they sort of advertised that you could get a train from Crewe all the way to France, and then they just binned the whole thing. Think about the Rwanda project that saw maybe 10 people get deported to Rwanda, yet cost millions of pounds of legal fees. And we've actually got a couple stories here in relation to the 2022 injunction on the Afghan scandal that sunk millions of pounds into legal fees. There is no stopping to the extreme expenditure of this government and the previous Conservative government.
Okay, well, speaking about the Afghan super injunction, do you want to talk us through what has been uncovered?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, another great piece of journalism from Restore Britain. So they did a freedom of information and uncovered the cost of legal work by the government on the super injunction. Now, that is basically the cost to dig the story into the ground and make it illegal for the press to report on the story. The total cost of the super injunction regarding the Afghan deal, obviously importing hundreds of thousands of Afghanistan people after the war had ended, just the legal fees were £2.6 million. And that's all to hide the importation of thousands of Afghanistans from the British people. So that is the cost of the government hiding its own dirty work. And this is just one example that we know of. How many more super injunctions do the government currently have active? It's impossible to know because it's illegal to report on. But this is just one example of massive fiscal overexpenditure on things that we did not vote for. I like how this is coming to light. Obviously, we really need to run the government as a business. We need to spend as much as we earn, and just creating a massive deficit and adding to the interest payments that the British population pays is simply just selling Britain down the road. The future generations will be the ones to pay this extraordinary debt that the government is currently amassing.
Yeah, as you say, another great bit of work by Restore Britain, doing really, really good stuff and covering the sort of truth on what's happening. But yeah, that's just one sort of sector. As stated, I touched upon a minute ago, is that how much was it with regard to the Lebanese police force that was uncovered as well? Just there's money going out there. There's money going absolutely everywhere. And again, now they're just taxing people. Now, whilst they're not breaking their manifesto pledges allegedly on taxing working people as such, they're still going to be raising taxes in other areas, which again just doesn't need to be done when they could really be saving money and blocking this black hole in other areas.
Exactly. All the increased taxes do is push millionaires and entrepreneurs out of the country. That is one of the main sort of fallouts for increasing taxes. The UK has the highest rate of millionaires leaving the country. That is not a coincidence. That is absolutely due to the nature of this government's policies in continually increasing taxes. And she says that she's not going to tax working people. Well, she's going to tax the businesses that working people work for. And that would stop their growth. It stops them from taking on more risk and hiring more people. If you simply can't afford to hire people, then you won't. If you can't afford to expand your business and take risk, then you simply won't. So she can says all she likes. It doesn't take a genius to figure out the negative consequences of her actions.
Facts. Yeah, no, 100%. But we'll see what happens on November 26th. But again, she's publicly came out now saying the taxes are going to rise. Another lie, but we'll see, of course, what's going to be happening over the next couple of weeks in the lead up to the budget. But it's probably going to be absolutely disastrous. And it's someone that's underqualified in the first place, shouldn't be having this role. Obviously, Rachel from accounts, underqualified. And yes, the Tories did make a mess, but they've just added to it much bigger, more and more. And it made it even worse than what you can actually believe.
Yeah, and she's going to run out of scapegoats eventually. Like, talking about Liz Truss's mini budget is really scraping the bottom of the barrel there.
And Brexit, but it's also going down the other avenue now of blaming Nigel Farage. So they're blaming Nigel Farage for sort of why the boats are coming over. Now they're going to try and blame him. So it's all sort of trying to politicise an argument now. Well, we're in this mess because of Nigel Farage pushed for Brexit. The reason why illegal immigrants are coming over is because Nigel Farage pushed for Brexit. And now you're trying to back this party called Reform, who, again, put us in this mess in the first place. It's called Gaslighting 101. Now, speaking about Nigel Farage, he has set to this morning, as we're just speaking now, set for biggest ever Commons majority, while Tories and Labour brace for general election catastrophe in bombshell mega poll. Now, a new poll has came out with regard to if a general election was called tomorrow, on what seats would be available. Now, I'm just sharing my screen with you now, Dob, so you can see. And I'll put the image up for our viewers here. But the latest poll this morning is pretty astounding. The mega poll is by company PLMR with electoral calculus and published by the Daily Mail overnight. It would see Reform win 445 MPs, Labour 73 MPs, Lib Dems 42 MPs, your party 13 MPs, and Tories with just 7 MPs and a handful of Greens. It projects Reform would return an earth-shattering majority of 258, which is more than Baldwin in 1924. Along with YouGov, it kills dead the Kemi bounce narrative. In fact, she loses her seat in this poll. Rachel Reeves, Yvette Cooper, Bridget Phillipson, and Ed Miliband would also be ousted by Reform. Robert Jenrick, Suella Braverman, Rishi Sunak and IDS would all lose their seats to Reform too. Shabana Mahmood and Wes Streeting would lose their seats to Your Party. The poll of 7,500 British adults took place from September 10th to September 18th before the party conference season. So as you can see here, the estimated seats is a mass amount, 445, and you can see the majority is usually 326, but it looks bleak for the remainder of the parties.
Yeah, and with Conservatives only holding 7 seats in that projected poll, I am predicting many people from the Conservative Party to jump ship over the next year. That seems like a logical cause in order for them to keep retaining their seats. I would personally love to see Ed Miliband lose his seat. I think he's a hippie, a Greenpeace advocate, a green energy pusher, 2020-30 agenda, World Economic Forum, shill. All he's done is limit the progress of the North Sea oil drilling, which we know, in fact, he'd rather import billions and billions of barrels of oil from Norway, a massive increased price, rather than drilling the same sea that we share with them. It's absolutely ludicrous. So, we still got a long way to go before the next election. Advance obviously does have momentum, but clearly doesn't have a lot of political standing right now. It'd be interesting to see where they poll once they do get onto the sort of in the zeitgeist within the public consciousness.
Well, if your party's getting 13, you'd probably presume that they would get a lot more.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like Rupert Lowe is key to lead that party. When he's obviously done with his Restore Britain movement, I would like to see him lead Advance UK.
Yeah, no, well, it'll be interesting to see how that sort of unfolds, but certainly a huge, another boost for reform. You can't really stop this momentum train at this moment in time. People, of course, really are siding with Nigel Farage despite the gaslighting from Labour on the other side, but that's a huge majority there from reform if a general election was called tomorrow.
Yeah, and overall, I have had my qualms with reform, but I do feel like they will be a positive force in politics, in UK politics. Are we going to see the sort of massive changes that we're expecting? Maybe we will. Nigel likes to talk the talk, but we'll see if he can walk the walk. And obviously, the UK landscape of politics right now in terms of parties is very lucid. You're seeing a lot of parties pop up in the last couple of years that have really displaced the traditional two-party system. So it'd be interesting to see, obviously, if he can keep that momentum going up until the election.
Speaking about Nigel Farage, of course, yesterday that guy, do you remember the guy with the AK-47 on his face?
I do indeed.
He
He's kind of a hard figure to forget.
Yeah, threatened to kill him, of course, in a TikTok. Essentially, now he has now been jailed. Yesterday, it came out information with regard to him. He's been jailed for 5 years following what he said. Of course, came in illegally anyway. But yeah, sentenced to some jail time. Probably only do about 2 years of that sentence. But yeah, he's been jailed. And funnily enough, Nigel Farage just made a really good point upon his sentencing. It's very interesting to see that they gave him 8 months for entering the country illegally as a part of his sentencing. But all the other ones that cross over illegally don't get anything.
Yeah, that is a very weird sort of legal precedent that they've used in that case. So surely that should set the precedent for all illegal entries into the UK, should it not?
It should. That's what I mean. That's from Nigel Farage's words, not mine. I'll bring up the tweet. Fayaz Khan received 8-month sentence for illegal entry into the UK. Where are the sentences for 35,000 migrants who've entered illegally this year? And then, of course, he spoke about it as well. But he did reinform, stating that this violent criminal will be back on the streets in just 18 months' time. And then essentially, with these sort of woke lawyers, will probably get some reason as to why he can stay. Remember, in the court, we also heard that he had 19 prior convictions out in Sweden and in fact changed his name upon coming over to the United Kingdom. And whilst he was being sentenced, he said, I'd rather go back to Afghanistan than go to prison in the UK. But people make a lot of arguments. Now, this I want to get your opinion on this. So obviously we have an illegal that comes over, has committed a crime. Do you believe that because I see a lot of people saying just deport him. But you should have to carry out a sentence within the UK if you committed a crime in the UK. My reasoning for this is because we've got such weak borders, that individual would then get deported to Afghanistan and then just do the journey back again and probably back in the UK within 3 months' time, if he was to just get deported without any sort of sentence.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things obviously to unpack there. Firstly, all illegals should have indefinite detention up until deportation. They shouldn't be allowed to leave.
Currently not the case.
But currently not, which obviously allows for the massive crime wave that we've seen in recent years. Me personally, this comes down to foreign policy. What I would like to see is these criminals be held within their own countries. And what we can do is actually sort of outsource the prison system at a massively reduced rate. A great example is El Salvador. The US now have deals with the El Salvador prison system where people who come to the US illegally are deported and jailed in El Salvador. Well, why can't we do the same thing for these countries like Afghanistan? Obviously the Taliban, we've got a pretty tricky history with them, but regardless, they are the government that are in power in the Afghanistan right now. Why can't this person be jailed in Afghanistan? Likewise, if they come from Pakistan, if they come from Turkey, Syria, they should be jailed within the country that they come from. It would relieve a lot of pressure and a lot of tension from the UK prison system. and also, maybe put them on a, unable to leave their own country sort of decision there. But yeah, it's a difficult one because at the end of the day, this person is going to be costing the UK taxpayer about £35,000 a year in order to detain them in British cells. We have to understand, is it better for the UK people to just straight up deport this person and have them serve their jail time elsewhere?
Yeah, that's a good point. I never really thought about it like that. Yeah, if you can make deals with these countries, then certainly it would take the burden off of our sort of bill, so to speak, and free up our prison spaces, which are already overcrowded, for an individual that shouldn't have already been in the country in the first place. You make a very good point. So yeah, I'll be interested to see what will happen with that. But yeah, he's just one of a few. Nigel Farage said, well, how many more people like this individual have crossed the channel? Well, the answer is pretty clear, because we've been covering a lot of those stories here on the podcast. And in fact, more news came out with regard to another court hearing. CCTV footage has, of course, emerged with regard to a former hotel worker, Rhiannon White, who prosecutors allege Den Majak, who claimed to be 19, stabbed the 27-year-old 23 times with a screwdriver at Bescot Stadium railway station on the 20th of October 2024. She died in hospital 3 days later. He was from Sudan, and on CCTV footage, he was seen dancing and laughed after murdering the Walsall hotel worker in a vicious and frenzied attack on the train station platform, is what the trial heard. Now, opening the case for the prosecution at Wolverhampton Crown Court, Michelle Healy KC told the jury that the defendant was clearly excited about what he had done. Absolutely treasonous.
Yeah, and it's obviously a very sad story. I'd like to say, obviously, our rest in peace to this worker, and condolences to her family. I think the blood of this person are on the politicians that let this happen. We cannot stop holding the politicians accountable for the murders that they cause, because at the end of the day, this person should not have been in this country in the first place. Therefore, you have to hold the people who allow this policy, and also the activist woke judges that fight for the rights of these people to retain in our country. You have to hold them accountable. And obviously, that's a very vicious attack that this person did. Clearly, there's no empathy, remorse, conscious in this person's brain to be celebrating and dancing the death of just killing someone like that with a screwdriver is absolutely a heinous crime. So, yeah, I think it's one story. This happened quite a few years ago, right?
No, well, it happened last year, so October 20th, 2024. So I remember hearing about the story, but of course these things are a little bit hush-hush. We knew it was an illegal migrant, but we didn't know, of course, the details and how many times this individual stabbed the girl, and of course didn't know about him sort of celebrating and whatnot. But this is the savagery we're importing. So if it's not murders that we're just seeing here, it's threats to kill. If it's not that, then it's sexual assaults and rapes. So it's just, we really are importing our own downfall as a country. We're just bringing these individuals in that don't align with our values whatsoever, and then all of a sudden wreaking havoc on our streets. And the question is, how many more are there? Because last week 1,300 more boats came over, and we're hearing those numbers increase, and we're going into October. We're in October now. So yeah, this is going to continue for as much as time. We're not going to know who's in the country, but things seem to be getting worse than they are getting better. As you shared a video from AY Audits, who's exposed yet another brand new 98 new luxury apartments in Chelmsford, Essex, for asylum seekers. This is absolute liberties, and obviously Tommy Robinson hasn't taken this news very well, but should we watch this video that's of course come up with regard to AY Audits that just shows that this is showing no signs of slowing down whatsoever.
Hello, how are you all?
Who are you, sorry?
Yeah, I come from TBP.
Sorry?
Come from TBP.
You want to come inside?
Sure.
Just go inside.
Here's all the notice boards there, guys. Hello.
Sorry, mate. Can you please come outside with me?
Pardon me?
Can you please
Nice
come
little
out?
building complex here, isn't it? Yeah. Come to do a little inspection today. This is all the Home Office stuff.
Can I see your ID, please?
My ID. Please scan the barcode to request a GP appointment. That's all you've got to do in a place like this, guys. That's all you need to do here. Scan the QR code to give your feedback about your stay. The head office, this lift is out of order. These are all flats down here. This is quite interesting, look. You've got illegal working things up here, look. So there's all like illegal working stuff. So there seems to be on it here. This is all in a foreign language, this stuff.
Hello, sir.
This is all the leaflets. Lives in an initial accommodation. Can I take some of these
Outsiders
leaflets?
are not allowed to inside.
What do you mean outsiders not allowed?
Can I see your ID, please?
You've got many outsiders in here, I believe, sir. Stop the hate, report hate crime. Hello.
Hi,
How are you?
Good afternoon. How
Yeah.
are you?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm
Are you
good.
living in here?
Yeah, I'm living here.
What's it like in here? What's the rooms like?
It's very comfortable.
Very comfortable.
I'm good, yes.
Yeah. Where did you come from? What country?
Actually, I'm Kuwaiti and Turkish.
Yeah. Okay.
I passed from France to United.
Did you come? Oh, you come on the dinghy?
Yeah, sure.
On the boat?
Yes.
Yeah. And how long have you been in here for?
3 months.
3 months. And did you come straight into this place?
Yes.
Yeah. Straight from processing centre to here?
Old Campstone
Yeah.
to this place.
Okay. Good.
First Old Campstone, then Crown
Yeah.
Plaza, then
And then Crown Plaza.
Leave them, brother. Leave them.
No, it's okay. What are you doing, man?
No, man, no.
Well, I can
We are
talk with
not
this man.
allowed.
I can talk with him. Why can't I talk with him?
You can talk with
I
me.
can talk with you.
Yeah, yeah,
What's your room like? Can I have a look?
Yeah, sure.
Show me.
Can I just...
Yeah, take a picture of that, yeah?
Just... Brownfield Hospital.
You're allowed people in, guests? You're allowed to have guests?
Until 10 o'clock.
Oh, brilliant. Show me room
Sorry,
then.
man,
yeah?
if you are still refusing to get outside.
No,
I need
I'm a
to call
guest.
Triple 9 if you
I'm a
don't mind.
guest. That's all right, buddy. No problem. I'm his guest.
He's guest.
Do you want me to sign in the book or anything?
You are not allowed to.
I can
record
sign in.
outside.
I'm not recording at the moment.
You are
It's not
recording.
recorded.
You are.
No, not now. Not now. What are you looking for? The hospital?
Yeah, my dish is my teeth.
Oh, your teeth.
Yeah.
So you need to go hospital for
Yeah,
teeth.
my teeth is...
Okay, show me this room. What floor are you
You
on?
can sign there.
Yeah, no problem. I've already signed in.
You sign?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go.
So this is the new apartment block, guys. This gentleman's kindly offered to show me his room.
Sure, I can show you my...
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, sure.
So nice clean complex. Do they have cleaners come around and clean?
Yeah, they clean every week.
They clean every week?
Every day clean.
They clean in the rooms?
They clean all the rooms.
Yeah, oh brilliant.
They
Change
clean-
bedding?
They clean the kitchen,
Kitchen?
the living room.
They got kitchen in there?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
They clean the kitchen, they clean the rooms, and they clean the corridor.
Okay.
Yes.
What about the clothes?
Oh,
They clean the clothes?
one mistress, I don't know. What?
They clean the clothes or anything?
There's a wash machine.
There's a washing machine inside? They give all the washing machine?
Pardon?
Oh, this is nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
You alright, buddy? This is good, isn't it? Heating is on full blast.
Oh, this is nice, right?
Lovely. It's not a bad little spot. And you get washing machine and cooker,
Yeah, sure.
microwave.
The corridor.
He's from Kuwait.
I have a Kuwait and Turkey.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
It's very hot in here though, very warm.
Very warm, my friend.
Yeah.
Where's the toilet?
Air conditioner. There's two toilets. My
2 toilets?
yeah, my friend's toilet is here.
Oh, what, you share this with somebody?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and what is he like?
What,
Is he okay?
Yeah, he sure
Yeah?
is okay. Yeah. I choose good people.
Yeah, you choose good people, yeah?
Oh, do you get to choose then who you
Not
stay
bad
in a
little
room
spot.
with?
I just recommend to make
Right.
people.
Thank you, sir.
I want good people. Yeah, sure, sir.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
The old Bill came there. Fucking hell. Mate, well, he just admitted it online there that, of course, he came over on a dinghy. Did he say he was from Turkey? So he's seeking asylum from Turkey now. That's a new thing.
Yeah, last I heard, Turkey's part of the EU, is it not?
Yeah, I mean, he was like super happy. To be fair to him, I don't think that guy was a threat, but it just goes to show what all of these people are currently getting at the taxpayers' expense. This should make people who are British angry watching this. You know, he's there fucking sorting his teeth. Oh, what are you doing now? I'm just trying to find where I can get my teeth done. He's come from Turkey, now he's wanting to get his teeth done at the expense of the taxpayer. You know, scan here for a GP appointment, but luxury apartment, 2 people in there, all paid by you people that are watching this live stream.
Exactly. He was so joyous as well. He had a smile on his face. He was, look at my dishwasher, you know, look at my kitchen. And he's none the wiser the fact that he is simply just draining taxed money from hard-working people. You know, I had a flat in Manchester for a couple of years. It wasn't half as nice as this, and I was paying, you know, £600 to £800 a month. So it's just absolutely wild. And obviously the old
and
Bill
more to the point, whilst this individual here, you can't necessarily, again, look, he looks harmless. I mean, you can't scapegoat every individual that's come over on a boat is fucking a lunatic. Obviously, you don't say that. But those lunatics are living amongst them and are getting given and they're paid to invade and commit crimes within our country. And I do want to know from the Home Office why a guy from Turkey needs to be getting asylum in the country.
Yeah, because the last I heard, there was no civil conflict or wars happening in Turkey, whether it's political persecution or torture, as in Article 3 of the European Convention of Human Rights Act that created that loophole that he's here is a different question. But, you know, I just don't understand the sort of logic behind bringing this person in. You know, obviously he looks extremely harmless. He didn't even see the problem with showing this person, the audits person, his room. He never saw the logical fallacy that is. But, you know, he's completely harmless. The point is, though, he is completely undocumented and unvetted. And it doesn't matter whether he's harmless or not, because bad apples exist within
amongst
the bunch.
them, there will be ones. Yeah, exactly. Speaking of staying on sort of illegal immigration, so to speak, you've got a bit on the Boris wave, or at least Boris Johnson's come out and said something about stuff.
Yeah, incredibly interesting stuff coming from the good old man Boris himself. Regarding the Boris wave. Now, what is the Boris wave? The Boris wave is the massive increase in legal migration we saw happen from 2021 and onwards. So we've got a little clip here that we can play right now.
The problem we had with the back end of COVID, though, was that it looked as though, and we couldn't see the numbers, we were flying blind. We couldn't see how many were coming in. All we could see,
which is weird. The Home Office should have the numbers.
They didn't. No, they're not in real time. They don't.
No.
They're not. And so all we could see was inflation. So by the end of 2021, beginning of 22, inflation is suddenly getting into double figures. And you know what? That's a very, very bad.
Yes.
And that one, it was. I think the Treasury basically believed that was being caused by. Partly by the labour market seizing up, and you know, people couldn't get a pair of hands to do the jobs that they needed done, and there had to be a fix for that. Otherwise, I assume. I mean, I'm just trying to analyse it in retrospect, because this was not something that the government set out to do, and we certainly didn't set out to have 200,000 Ukrainians. We simply set out to be as generous as we could.
Yeah, so very interesting stuff there. Obviously, he was kind of blaming the Labour siege, the seizure that happened when the COVID lockdowns happened, causing massive inflation. We had schemes like furlough, which essentially the UK was just printing brand new money and pumping it back into people's pockets. But really, what he admitted there is that he saw inflation massively spike. And he said that the Home Office brought in hundreds of thousands of people. In 1 year, there was 900,000 people entered to find a pair of hands to do the work. Well, what I interpret that is that inflation causes wage increases. That is a fact. When you have more money in the public sector, wages increase. The Home Office panicked and they imported massive amounts of people in order to stop the wages increasing. So really, he's absolutely to blame, and it's crazy how he said they didn't have the figures in real time, and it's not what they set out to do. He was the man in chief. He was the prime minister at the time, and for him to say that he didn't have real-time figures on the issue, nor what happened is not what they set out to do. Again, it's just placing the blame on the Home Office and other things that he says are out of his control. I think it's complete pandering. He's gaslighting you to basically make a fictional problem, and he solved the problem.
Yeah, well, they always do that when they come out of power anyway, just try and backtrack and sort of, put blame onto others. It's pretty easy to say afterwards as well, but yeah, no, he's certainly sort of complicit in that sort of legal wave that we did see come over. And as that sort of quote tweet is saying, in other words, net migration of 900k in 1 year to stop wage growth.
Yeah, 100%. When you have more people in the system, you have to split the pie between more people to feed. Obviously, your slice of the pie is going to get smaller. And this is the whole thing why GDP per capita has stagnated or decreased. It's because we've had massive amounts of immigration. And this whole leftist argument that says, oh, well, who's going to clean the toilets? Who's going to work in the factory? Well, you know what? When the British population are paid the right wage to do them jobs, the British population will do them jobs. The thing is, illegal immigrants will take any job, because any job in the UK, even at minimum wage, is going to be a substantial increase than the jobs they can get doing similar work back in their home countries. So, it's absolutely bewildering how this man thinks he can get away with essentially causing the UK economy to completely stagnate. And also, how is he fixing the problem by importing massive amounts of people from third world and foreign countries?
Well, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's like putting a plaster on a hole in a ship that's sinking, right? It's just making it worse. And these people, by most part, are not skilled labor. They're not productive members of society. I say by most part because obviously some people are. I'm not going to group everyone into that category, but I would say a large portion, if not majority, of the people are definitely low-skilled workers who literally come to do nothing other than leech off the government or fill extremely low-skilled jobs that they will take any wage to do.
Good point.
Yeah, I just think it goes to show we need a massive reform of the legal immigration system, as well as obviously tackling the horrid illegal immigration system as well.
Well, Shabana Mahmood basically came out, actually, fun enough, you just sparked something there in me as you were talking about legal migration. She came out last night with breaking news, so to speak. She said new migrants must now pass A-level standard of English tests. So if you come to this country, you must learn our language and play your part. So they're now putting into a way of that people that come to this country have to pass A-level standards of English tests.
I guess that's a positive. Will that be introduced to asylum seekers? I doubt it, because the majority of asylum seekers can't actually speak English. You saw in that hotel by Y Audits, they had English lessons there. Well, you wouldn't need English lessons if you had a level of English. And I feel like she's just gaslighting. She was actually in Parliament the other day, talking about how the biggest threat to terror in the UK is Islamic terror, which I think obviously is a good thing on her part to admit that as a Muslim. But she also goes to say how one of the main victims of Islamic terror are Islamic communities, which, from recent events with the synagogue attack is pretty far-fetching if you ask me.
Yeah. No, yeah. It was like almost like having to admit it because it's statistics anyway, but then kind of backtracking on it as well because she's Islamic. So yeah, she's just like saying because she has to, she's been forced to say it, but then also kind of to try and like wrap it up a little bit and say, well, the biggest victims are Islamic people, but it's not necessarily true. Another threat that's obviously on its way is, of course, digital ID. You shared some video footage of it all kicking off in Birmingham as protesters storm the building over digital ID. Massive unrest has erupted in Birmingham yesterday as protesters stormed the Bullring shopping centre, chanting against Keir Starmer's digital ID scheme. Crowds demanded an end to government surveillance. Police rushed to contain demonstrators inside the centre. But as you can see, the anger is spreading and people have had enough of the state control. Should we have a watch of this video?
They represent the system. Look at the system. The system helped us when we stand together. What do you think?
Well, yeah, it's clear to see what the British people think of that.
Yeah, and you know, we saw a lot of different faces there, a lot of ethnicities uniting against the same cause. And I think that goes to show, especially with Rupert Lowe's letter to Parliament, with the rejection of the digital ID, there's been a completely bipartisan support for it. Anywhere from Labour, Conservative, your party, everyone, even the independents have completely supported the push. And, you know, I think at the end of the day, they will use any methods that they can to encroach on your freedoms as a citizen. Digital ID is simply just the first step to complete governmentational control over your life, whether that implements into carbon taxes, complete seizure of bank accounts through not complying, you know, restrictive movement based on your social media posts. It's all on the table with digital ID. And I still think it's quite hilarious how they try to link it back to stopping the illegal working economy. Well, you can do that very simply by deporting all of the illegals. But yeah, you know, I like to see things like this. I like to see people spread their voice, spread their opinions, whether it be disruptive or not. You know, we have a right to protest. And yeah, I feel like getting our voices out and being heard on the issue is an important step in the right direction.
Yeah, fair. Good point. But whether it's going to be refuted, all remains to be seen.
Yeah, it's not looking very likely. You know, they have a long time to get this implemented. And if I was a betting man, I would say that, you know, by next year, this will be implemented into every single UK household. So yeah, resist while you can.
Yeah, here. Moving on to the Oxford. So do you want to take us through the whole situation with regard to that sick individual, of course, who celebrated Charlie Kirk's murder in Oxford? Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so essentially it was the Oxford Union's president of the Debate Society, a man called George Aberone. Apologies, I butchered his name there, but
proper English name, isn't it?
Well, there you are. You know, the head of the most prestigious debate society, pretty much in the UK, if not one of the biggest in the world. And his initial reaction to Charlie getting shot, there was two things that he said. Firstly, he said Charlie got shot, lol. Secondly, he said Charlie got shot, let's fucking go. And some screenshots were shared within the private debate group. There have been massive petitions and calls for him to be removed as the president, and rightly so. Bearing in mind, the sinister nature of this is that George debated Charlie face to face. in Oxford regarding, immigration and a lot of the issues that the UK is facing right now. So George had a personal connection to Charlie, and yet he celebrated his death in such a joyous way, and obviously got massive amounts of backlash for it. So this is the first time that he has been publicly speaking on the matter. So we can take a look at this clip here.
I'm at home and I see the news and I react, and I think
instantly.
Yeah, instantly. And the media has kind of...
So had you seen the video then?
No, I had not seen the video.
You just saw the headline?
I didn't even know, all I saw was shooting at Charlie Kirk event, and the media has kind of painted it as this, I'm celebrating his death or I'm celebrating the shooting, but it's kind of a massive misrepresentation of what happened. And when you see the headline, you said you were shocked when you saw the headline. I can understand that reaction. You see someone celebrating death and you go like, that's quite visceral. But it's again like a massive misrepresentation of like what happened.
I saw a screenshot of it saying Charlie Kirk got shot, let's fucking go. And then an Instagram one which was Charlie Kirk got shot, lol.
Yeah, so the Charlie Kirk got shot, lol was on an Instagram note. I think Charlie Kirk got shot, this one goes on a private story. Okay. And I reacted again poorly. I reacted very quickly. Again, at the time I didn't know anything about the situation, and I retracted and deleted my comments, and then the stories come out a day later talking about I celebrated his death.
Well, he fucking did celebrate his death. I mean, he's just trying to save face now because he got the backlash. That's why he's trying to save face. I mean, no one puts Charlie shot got it. Even if you didn't know about the story, you don't go Charlie Kirk got shot, let's fucking go, do you? Even if you didn't know the full fucking story or seen this video. I love how his argument is, oh, I didn't see the full video. Well, you got shot. Like, why that's let's fucking go then? Do you know what I mean? That's celebrating. He's just now trying to save grace or save face because he's been fucking cancelled, Bellend.
Exactly, Dan. He knew enough to know that Charlie got shot. The headline he was referring to was like shooting at Charlie Kirk event. But he knew enough to say to know that Charlie got shot. He knew obviously enough to know that he celebrated the incident. And now he's trying to save face because, this person, I will say, is a massive example of a DEI hire. And this is prevalent massively in the highest echelons of British education. This man's A-level results, I believe, was something like AAB or ABB. Now, on the surface, looks pretty good, but that is absolutely not enough to get into Oxford University. Me personally, I've had friends have A star, A, and they didn't get into UCL. They had to go to Bristol. So yeah, shout out Chris there. But it's completely, it bewilders me. Chris is a smart guy. He deserves to go into the best universities in the world. But this guy clearly doesn't, not having the right academic results. And not only that, he got voted in as the head of the debate society. And how can you be the head of a debate society when you are celebrating political assassinations? It's absolutely beyond me. Hopefully, when it gets to it, he can be voted out swiftly. We need to attack this type of rhetoric with the same tools that they have been using. We need to cancel them, and we need to remove them from positions of power. Because when they occupy these positions of power, it just stifles debate and stifles conversation within these organisations. And to be fair, the prestigiousness of the Oxford Debate Society should be held at the absolute top echelon of standards when it comes to things like this. And so anything less than a removal of this man from the presidency of the Oxford Debate Society is anything but a shortfall.
Yeah, you can clearly just tell that this guy is a DEI, and the way that he's just trying to save face is really, really desperate. Just own it. Whilst he's a disgusting character, I'd rather just people just own their shit rather than just come out and backpedaling stuff. If you really meant it, then just fucking go down with the ship. I hate when people try to save face, try not to get cancelled. You said that. That's your feelings deep down. Now fucking own it. People have a little bit more respect for you if you just try and own it and try and make up some bullshit and try and pull the wool over people's eyes.
Yeah, 100%. He's clearly trying to clutch at straws here and making excuses for himself. He even lied to say that one of them was from an Instagram private story. No, it was from a WhatsApp group which had all these society members within it. And even on the screenshots, there were people saying, "You're not seriously celebrating his death, right?" And it just absolutely bewilders me how he thinks there is anything other than bad in this situation.
Bell end, man. Absolutely bell end. You've got a segment here with regard to the Telegram CEO. Do you want to take us through that quickly?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the Telegram CEO, a Russian native who moved to Italy when he was young. Pavel.
Is he Russian?
Yes.
Was he Ukrainian?
I believe he was Russian. He's from that neck.
Oh yeah, anyway. No, I didn't know. I thought he was Ukrainian. Yeah, it must
so
be fucking Russian then. Jeez. Yeah, Russian. You're right. Sorry, mate. I just it's something I think one of those fucking sort of Mandela things where I sent something to Ukraine to him, and then it must have been something to do with the war or something like that. And then I've just in my head thought he was Ukrainian for the rest of the time. Sorry about that. I won't question you again, Dom. I promise.
Don't you dare question my sources. So, yeah, Pavel Durov. He has been absolutely instrumental in his social media kind of creation. He actually created one of the largest social media platforms in Russia, which was then swiftly taken over by the Russian government when he refused to give them backdoor access to the encrypted messaging channels that the social media platform had. So he thought, you know what, I'm gonna move to France. And moving to France, he had the idea of creating Telegram. Now, Telegram, for those of you who aren't aware, is the largest encrypted messaging app on the planet. Telegram has been massive in creating movements and creating organizations in countries, protests, etc. That obviously the governments themselves do not know about because of the encrypted nature of the chat. So, essentially what happened was there was a piece of legislation within the EU that essentially was trying to limit the cryptography of the messaging apps. What it would allow is for all messaging within EU countries to essentially have a backdoor access to governments with respect to officials. So that means officials and people in power would not have their messages leaked, which is completely real. It's a one rule for me, one rule for you, right? So he tweeted here, today, the European Union nearly banned your right to privacy. It was set to vote on a law that would force apps to scan every private message, turning everyone's phone into a spying tool. France led the push for this authoritarian law. Both former and current interior ministers, Bruno Retailleau and Laurence Nunez, supported it. Last March, they declared that police should see French citizens' private messages. The Republicans and Macron's resistance group voted for it. Such measures are supposed to fight crime, but the real target is regular people. It wouldn't stop criminals. It would just use they could just use VPNs or special websites to hide. Officials and police messages wouldn't be scanned either, since the law conveniently exempts them from surveillance. Only you, ordinary citizens, would face the danger of your private messages and photos being compromised. Today, we defended privacy. Germany's sudden stand changed our rights, but freedoms are still threatened. While French leaders push for total access to private messages, the basic rights of French people and all Europeans remain in danger. So what he's talking about in terms of the Germans' role in shooting down this law is they changed their position last minute, which basically resulted in there being a less than 65% majority within the voting. So that shot down the law for now. So essentially, the law, they called it like the Child Safety Protection Act or something along those lines. The idea behind it was they were trying to limit child sexual exploitation, which on the surface is something that everyone can agree on.
Well, that's just like mirroring the UK.
Exactly. It's a Trojan horse on the matter. They of course they would label it something like this. So when you have opposition to it, they would say, "Oh, well, you like child exploitation." Well, obviously not.
So they're trying to go down the same route as the UK then?
Yeah, exactly, but even worse.
Oh, okay.
it essentially outlaws cryptography in terms of messaging apps. So yeah, on the surface, obviously looks great, but having all messages, being scanned by third parties, excluding obviously police officers and political figures, is a massive encroachment on privacy, and that's something that obviously Pavel's business is based upon, private messaging. So yeah, it's good to see him obviously fight the fight in terms of the EU legislation there. But again, it could have gone either way. It came up to Germany in terms of standing on the matter and voting the law down, but it could have very easily gone the other way.
Well, thank God for that then. That's really good news.
Yes, it is for now. Obviously, Pavel was arrested in France. For a considerable amount of time. He was then released back in. It's similar charges to the Tommy Robinson charges, actually, where I think they had him on some sort of terrorism charges, because they were essentially trying to say that the illegal activities that happens on his apps are his fault and he should be arrested for them. Or simply, he offers a service to people, and what they do on his platform is out of his control. So he eventually got released from prison. Obviously, he has been a massive component in the fight for free speech in the EU. So yeah, more power to him.
Yeah, no, I agree. Dom, mate, I need to. I've got commitments elsewhere, really, because we're sort of running out of time. I know you wanted to go through that sort of tech stuff, but can I say for the next episode, I've kind of got an urgent thing to do over the next few minutes.
Absolutely, no problem.
Yeah, man. Sorry about that, but couldn't thing me for time for today. But guys, Dom, do you want to give us a little bit of an outro, some final words?
Absolutely, guys. If you have enjoyed this episode, please make sure to subscribe. Every subscription helps. Only 20% of you are subscribed. So if you're listening to this podcast and you are listening to me speak right now, just make sure you're double checked and you are subscribed. But we are coming to you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And if you enjoyed, please smash that like button as well. Thank you for listening.
Take care, guys. Thank you.